GolfNewsRI presents the Golf Dudes Podcast. Here are the dudes.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Golf Dudes Podcast. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone is doing well, having a great day. It was a great golf day today. So thanks to everyone for tuning in again to yet another episode of the Golf Dudes Podcast. I'm Joe Calabro, and no Rich today as he is out and about working. So it's just me today, so we have a lot to get to. But first, we need to tell you that the Golf Dudes Podcast is presented by Link Strings. Link Strings is best known for their transfusion in a can. The transfusion is vodka, ginger ale, and grape juice, all mixed up into one refreshing beverage. Be sure to check out Link Strings' two new flavors, the front nine and the back nine, and all three of those flavors, the regular, front nine, and back nine, can be found in liquor stores and country clubs near you throughout the state. Link Strings, of course, based in Connecticut. They're in 21 states across the country. So good for them. And thanks to them again for supporting GolfNewsRI and supporting the Golf Dudes Podcast. So lots to get to today. Super exciting week, both on the business side of things and on the content side of things. Obviously, we had the U.S. Amateur qualifying on Tuesday in Valley. We have the Providence Open currently going on over at Triggs Memorial. We are just a few days away from the Raleigh Amateur kicking off that beautiful Wanham Autonomy. And so lots to get to, lots of local stuff to get to. And we'll start with the most recent thing, which is the Providence Open that started on Thursday morning at Triggs Memorial Golf Course. And the first round is in the books. And so Ryan's Kevin Blazer is just one shot back. He had a 5-under round today, and he's one shot off the lead of Matt Shubley, who is from Ontario, Canada. So somebody came from Canada to play in this tournament. There's guys from all over kind of the country and kind of North America playing over at Triggs. So it's really great golf. It's free to watch. The final round is Friday. So be sure to go over to Triggs Memorial and check it out. Some great golf. You can watch for free, no cost. Eat lunch or have a drink, whatever you want to do. And watch some great golf at the Providence Open over at Triggs. And again, Kevin Blazer is one shot back going into the final round. So he'll be in the final group tomorrow. And it should be a shootout. The course looks like it's in great condition. Looks like there's tough pin placements out there. I talked to a few of the guys today. They said a lot of the pins are right on the edges. So they're trying to toughen it up for these guys. And again, a lot of these guys you watch in the Providence Open, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are pros or pro level players trying to scratch out a win, trying to get some obviously money, but also trying to kind of get their careers jump started. So it's very, very much a pro tournament. I was talking to Max Jackson a little bit today. He was playing and he really struggled. But again, it's a pro style tournament. So it's a lot harder than played last week in the World Series of Junior Golf. But and same thing. Nick Emery said the same thing. And I missed Harry Dessel, but he had a good round today. He was 1 under for the tournament. He got off to a 3-under start, and then I think he made a couple of bogeys coming in to finish at 1 under. But he's playing really well, and we had him on the RA Amateur Series podcast a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, I guess. So definitely some local guys in it, some younger players in it, some older players in it. Fran Quinn was playing. He's off to a good start. Fran Quinn, of course, now famous for making it to the U.S. Open at Brookline. He's playing the tournament, and so lots of locals playing in it. Again, both younger guys and older guys, but it's a pro type tournament, and a lot of these guys are trying to scratch out a victory and kind of get their career jump started in some way, shape, or form. And that's the beauty of watching this kind of golf. This is real golf. This is guys that are playing for their livelihood very much, and so that's kind of the fun of it for us as viewers of the game and fans of the game, is to see these guys grinding over every putt and grinding over every shot, because it could mean the difference between a first place check and a second place check, or a second place check and a third place check, or whatever you want to call it. So there is that. We also had the opportunity today to catch up with Brad Adamonis. who's obviously playing the tournament. He's played every year. It's run by his brother, Dave Adamonis, who obviously is, you all know, from Challenge Cup. And this tournament falls under the kind of the Challenge Cup umbrella. So Brad Adamonis was playing. He's 3 under after the first round. And obviously Brad is from Rhode Island. He's been grinding on the mini tours for years and years, trying to catch his break. He qualified for a PGA Tour tournament earlier this year, or earlier, a couple of weeks ago, I guess, and which we reported on. And so we got a chance to catch up to Brad Adamonis afterward. I had a brief interview with him, and you might have seen it already, but if you haven't, we're going to play that interview now. So here's me with Brad Adamonis at Triggs Memorial Golf Course earlier this afternoon. We're here at Brad Adamonis at Triggs at the Providence Open. Brad, just talk about your round today. I know you made a couple birds on the back 9 to get in contention.
Yep, I birdied 9, 10, almost birdied 11. I had a pretty good putt. Then I bogeyed 12 and birdied 13, bogeyed 14, and I birdied 15 and 17. So it was a good way to finish.
What does it mean to you to be here back in Rhode Island? Obviously, you've been all around the country, the world. Yeah. What does it mean to you to come back home and play in Rhode Island and at Triggs?
Oh yeah, it's great. Dave runs the Challenge Cup. All these guys I'm friends with, and all the people at Triggs. I used to play here, and Carl was good enough. I played here for a year or a couple of years, and my father was actually the golf course superintendent here for 2 years. Dave worked here. I worked a little bit here, and yeah, it's always great to be here.
A couple of weeks ago, you played on the You played on the PGA Tour in Canada. You mondo-cued a viral video that went around that the PGA Tour put out, and we embedded it on our website. But talk about that experience and kind of the continued grind that you've been on throughout your career. And what is that?
Yeah.
What is that like? What is it like to grind like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm playing golf. I'm lucky. So I've been fortunate enough to have some good sponsors to let my dream stay alive, and I've been lucky. So it's just golf, basically. Try to do the best I can, be better at golf, and I'm going to try the senior tour. So hopefully I can get on the senior tour and play a couple of years on that tour.
Obviously, tomorrow's the final round here. What do you got to do come out tomorrow to get a W here?
Yeah, just I got to play aggressively and try to make a lot of birdies and see what happens. I think got a good shot, just like anybody else.
Obviously, everybody in Rhode Island still follows you and follows your career. But you mentioned the senior tour, but what's next for you as far as competitive golf goes or career goes, or what kind of?
Yeah, the senior. I'm 49, so this year I can actually go to the senior tour qualifier. So the goal is to get on the senior tour, be a full member, and be able to play on that tour, and hopefully win a lot of tournaments. Like Dana Quigley, he'd be a good role model. All right, that was Brad Adamonis that you just heard of. I caught up with him briefly again earlier this afternoon at Triggs. He'll be among the later tee times tomorrow. He's only a few shots out of the lead. 3 shots out of the lead, to be exact. So he'll have a nice mid-morning-ish tee time tomorrow, or maybe even early afternoon. So you definitely want to check him out. And again, it's another guy that just keeps grinding on tour and trying to make it. He did, obviously, as you heard, reveal that he's just a year away from being in the senior tour. He's 49 now, so he'll be joining Brett Quigley and Billy Andre and those guys on the senior tour in the coming month or year. So that's good, and obviously sometimes Brad Faxon as well. So we wish him the best of luck. It was great to talk to him, introduce myself, introduce GolfNewsRI, and he was really excited to talk to us and talk to you guys, talk to Rhode Islanders. So that was the interview with Brad. And once again, it's up on our website. If you want to replay it, it's also on our YouTube page, my YouTube page. So be sure to check that out there. So again, great to catch up with Brad today at Triggs. The other big event that happened this week, of course, the day after the 4th of July. So no rest for the drunk. Was the U.S. Amateur qualifier at Valley Country Club. Of course, the U.S. Amateur is in August over in New Jersey, but there was a qualifier earlier this week at Valley Country Club, which of course we covered. And Brad Valoy posted a 9 under par 2-round score. It was 36 holes to take co-medalist honors and advanced to the U.S. Amateur for the second straight year. Brad Adamonis continues to kind of return to the competitive golf scene after some time away and some time of kind of rebuilding himself and his confidence, as he told us last year in the RI Amateur Series podcast. And so he marks the third Rhode Islander so far that has qualified for the U.S. Amateur. Davis Chatfield, of course, and Bobby Leopold are the other two. Chatfield had an exemption because he made it to match play last year. Bobby Leopold qualified at Connecticut National with an amazing chip in. So Brad Adamonis is the third Rhode Islander to get in. We'll keep an eye out for any others that happen to qualify over the course of the next week or two, when the qualifiers kind of all take place. But Brad Adamonis is the third qualifier. And again, the U.S. Amateur is in August at the Ridgewood Country Club in New Jersey. So I know Golf Channel will pick up coverage of that at some point, and so they usually show it. So we'll have coverage of that when it gets a little bit closer. But obviously excited to have these local qualifiers here in Rhode Island, whether it's the U.S. Amateur qualifier or a U.S. Open qualifier, or whatever it might be. So U.S. Amateur was earlier this week. 2 spots were open, and then there were 2 alternates. Kirk Bray's Mike Hamilton grabbed the second alternate spot, and he couldn't believe the scores were that high. He shot 6 under, and he thought that could get him in. That could get 1 or 2 spots, but 9 under was the number. It was interesting. I talked to Ty McCormick, who also played. I think he finished 1 or 2 under for the tournament, but I talked to him on like 2 days before, and he thought 10 under was going to be the number, and he pretty much was right. So 9 under obviously ended up being the number. Co-medalist honors. 10 under would have been solo medalist honors. So he pretty much was right. Hamilton was surprised at the low scores. So these guys are good. They play a much different game of golf than I play, for sure. So there's that. So those are the 2 big local things that happened this week in Rhode Island. Of course, we're always tracking guys and girls all over the country. Kylie played in the North-South Junior Amateur earlier this week at Pinehurst. I believe Davis Chatfield and Patrick Welch, and I believe Andrew O'Leary as well, will be back in action, I believe, next week in the Southern Amateur, because Andrew O'Leary is skipping the Rhode Island Amateur for the first time, I think, in his career, his amateur career, because I think it interferes with the Southern Amateur. So we'll cover that as well as the Rhode Island Amateur, of course. So that should be interesting to see how those guys do. O'Leary and Patrick Wells obviously still have a year plus of amateur golf ahead of them in these tournaments. Davis Chatfield, as he revealed to GolfNewsRI, he will be turning pro in September, so he's just kind of playing the amateur circuit to kind of strengthen his game and get better and get some reps in. So he'll be going pro in September. He's doing the Corn Ferry Tour Q School. We'll have an article coming out soon about what's next for Will Dixon. Of course, Will won the G Pro Tour Championship. Say that 5 times fast. G Pro Tour Championship. Last week, as reported, on Thursday, early afternoon. And so he's got a couple more Corn Ferry Tour qualifiers coming up. And then he's also going to Q School in September. But because he made the cut at a Corn Ferry Tour qualifier, at a Corn Ferry Tour event, not a qualifier, Corn Ferry Tour event, he actually skips pre-qualifying and goes straight to, I guess, regular Q School. So as I told him, the pre-qualifying sounds more stressful than the actual qualifying. So there's that. So you'll have a kind of an article coming up on that in the next day or two about Will Dixon's next steps and what's going on with him following his G Pro Tour win. So there is all of that as well. So that's kind of the local stuff. We also on the business side, GolfNewsRI welcomes Shore Golf Performance and Physical Therapy as a new advertiser. So I met Michael Edwards in person on Wednesday, and so we had a great conversation. We're really excited, obviously, for them to advertise with us, and they're excited to work with us. So we'll have some stuff coming up with them
Michael's going to come on our podcast in 2 weeks or 2 Mondays from now. So we're excited. That'll be a good show. We're excited to talk to him. But obviously, we welcome Shore Golf Performance to the GolfNewsRI family, if you will, and so good stuff there. And if you're wondering where that is, it's in the Todd Campbell. It's part of the Todd Campbell Golf Academy at Cranston Country Club. He has a great facility. Todd Campbell does as well, for that matter. So if you want, go check him out. Mention GolfNewsRI, and so it'll take care of you, whatever you might need. They do dry needling, which is not really my thing, but some people like it, so good. And they do TrackMan and all these other things that you possibly could need. So go check out the facility over at Cranston Country Club. And while staying on the amateur circuit here, the R Amateur, of course, begins next week at Wanamatanami. And starts Monday, goes through Friday. Hopefully, there won't be any rain. I think it's supposed to potentially rain Wednesday and Thursday. Hopefully, that doesn't happen, and they can get this off kind of without a hitch. Last year's Rye Amateur was a disaster. Most of the summer was a disaster last year, so it wasn't just the R Amateur, but the R Amateur was pretty much a disaster at Kirkbride, just with the rain and the weather problems and everything else that happened. So hopefully they get it off perfectly this year, and starts on Monday with 2-stroke play rounds, Monday and Tuesday, and then match play starts on Wednesday. They're doubling up matches this year, so the first and second round of matches are Wednesday. The quarterfinals and semifinals are Thursday, and then the final obviously is a 36-hole match on Friday. So this whole thing should be wrapped up by Friday, hopefully. But it should be interesting. It's a loaded field, like I mentioned. No Andrew O'Leary, but other than that, it's a loaded field of top amateurs, like Bobby Leopold, defending champion Bobby Leopold, Kevin Blazer, who's having a good week this week, Ty McCormick, Mike Hamilton, all those guys. And then there's youngsters like Harry Dessel, who's playing really good golf, despite his 2 bogeys on Thursday in the Providence Open to close the round. He's playing some really good golf. He played really good last week at the World Series of Junior Golf. And then, of course, Max Jackson, who everyone's going to be focused on. He's playing well, too. And also, the best story might be 14-year-old Joey Ichifano, who's the youngest player in the field. He qualified with relative ease, and he'll be out there as well. So watch out for him. Could be some must-watch golf. So really looking forward to next week at Wanamatanami. The golf should be great. I haven't only played there once. I played there once last year in a Burke Fund event. The views are great, so the pictures should look fantastic, and so we're excited to have coverage of that. We'll have live blogs, we'll have recaps, we'll have some video stuff, just like we have over the last 2 years. Really, last year, the first year, I kind of just stayed in the first year of us covering the R Amateur. I kind of just stayed in the background a bit and didn't really do anything too crazy, just because we were new and I was trying to get the lay of the land, if you will. But this year we'll have some video, we'll have interviews, we'll have insight, and anything else that you could possibly imagine. So looking forward to that starting on Monday over at Wanamatanami. By the way, again, if you want to come and watch, it's free to come over and watch some good golf and see these guys compete for the trophy. So there is that. So lots going on in the local world of golf. And then right after the R Amateur, of course, is the New England Amateur, and that's that's at Alpine. So we'll have coverage of that as well. On the pro side, of course, pro golf continues to be chaos. The Scottish Open is this week. The British Open at St. Andrews is next week. A bunch of the guys, including Tiger, played in the JP McManus Pro-Am on Monday and Tuesday. And so I'll have some thoughts on that. We'll get into some of the pro golf stuff as well. But first, I want to take a quick commercial break, and we'll get to all that and more when we come back. This is the Golf Dudes Podcast. Stay tuned. Billy Andre joins the show. Billy, thanks so much for doing this, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'm very excited to be joined by an 11-time Emmy Award winner, and that is Armin Katayan. Massachusetts Women's Amateur Champion Allison Paik.
The days of the country club just being golf and maybe one amenity are gone. Unfortunately, Metacomet doesn't have those.
He has a very rare condition called kyphoscoliotic Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And at the time of diagnosis, there was only 60 documented cases in the world.
I mean, we legitimately played the last 4 holes at Newport National. You could not see 50 yards.
And welcome back to the Golf Dudes Podcast. Joe Calabro here. Before we continue, we'll tell you that the Golf Dudes Podcast is presented by Lynx Drinks. Lynx Drinks, of course, is best known for their transfusion in a can. And check out Lynx Drinks at liquor stores and country clubs near you. And again, thanks to our friends at Lynx Drinks for the continued support of the Golf Dudes Podcast and, of course, GolfNewsRI as well. Earlier in the show, we talked about amateur golf. We talked about the local amateur golf scene. You saw my interview with Brad Adamonis over at Triggs. And again, the Providence Open resumes on Friday. It resumes and ends on Friday with the final round. So get over to Triggs Memorial and watch some high quality golf for guys that are playing for a lot. Some of them are playing for a lot anyways. Then we get into some of the RA amateur stuff. For those that are wondering, we did 2 episodes of the RA amateur series. We had Harry Dessel on, and of course we had a great touch conversation with Eugene DeSaro, Ryan golf legend and historian. He doesn't agree that he's a historian, but everyone I talk to calls him a historian, so I'm calling him a historian, and he knows everything there is to know. So if you missed those interviews or missed those conversations, I don't like calling them interviews. I mean, they are. It's just, I don't look at it that way. But anyway, if you missed those conversations, check them out online. Check them out on GolfNewsRI.com, on Facebook, or on YouTube, or wherever you watch your shows. And we do have some more coming up. As I said, we're a little bit behind this year, just with being at the U.S. Open and then the Northeast Amateur the week after that. I didn't want to bother anybody while they're prepping for the Northeast Am, but we're trying to cram a few more in over the next few days. So we'll be cranking them out hopefully over the weekend. And we do have a couple more lined up over the next at least 3 days. So be sure, so stay tuned for those. We'll let you know what's coming up. Hopefully a couple of really good ones that I'm really excited about. That's at least the plan. So stay tuned for episodes 3, 4, hopefully 5 of the RA Amateur Series podcast coming to GolfNewsRI.com in due time. So that's what we have going on locally. And again, we did a quick shout out to Shore Golf Performance and Physical Therapy, and we're super excited to welcome them. Excuse me, as a new advertiser. So the pro golf scene, of course, the pro golf scene continues to be chaos, but it looks like there's some letting their foot off the gas a little bit on this whole live thing. Roy McIlroy said in an interview with the BBC that he thinks the PGA Tour and Live Golf should kind of get together and meet, and he thinks that if they're willing to, if the Live people, the Saudis, are willing to invest that much money into professional golf, then that's probably a good thing if it's done the right way. So it looks like at least he is kind of easing off of the pedal on the Live Golf hate. Of course, Live played their second tournament last week in Pumpkin Ridge in Portland. It was won by Brandon Grace. Dawson Johnson had the lead, but he kind of fell apart. And now Live is playing the next tournament at the end of this month. So we'll keep an eye on that. And we'll keep an eye on what happens with the PGA Tour and Live. Of course, this all is surrounding the Scottish Open, which of course started on Thursday, and then the British Open, which starts next week at St. Andrews. So this will all be topics of conversation, continued topics
a conversation as all the live guys are playing both the Scottish Open and in the British. So it's not going away. And I think perhaps Rory sees that and says, okay, maybe it's time to work with these guys, or try to work with these guys, or some semblance of that. So it continues to be fascinating times in the pro golf world with the two tours going back and forth. So Scottish Open, as I mentioned, it is underway today. Obviously, coverage is over. It was over by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because obviously it starts so early on the other time zone. Cameron Tringali leads the way at 9 under. He shot a 61 today. Kind of came out of nowhere. So maybe an early favorite for an early bet for the British Open next week, if he's going to play like that in links golf, which obviously is different. So 9 under for Cameron Tringali. On my notes, of course, autocorrect, it says Cameron Triangle. I don't think that's the name. So Cameron Tringali, not Triangle, is 9 under. He leads the Scottish Open. Gary Woodland, another name kind of out of nowhere. He's obviously had a bunch of injury issues. He won the U.S. Open 2 years ago, not including this year, of course. And then he's had injury issues, game issues. It's good to see him back. He's 6 under, and Justin Harding is 5 under on the day. Meanwhile, Justin Thomas continues to struggle in links golf. He's 3 over. He had a par putt on 18 to kind of get into the clubhouse at 2 over, and he missed that. So he's 3 over on the day. He continues to struggle. Probably not a bet for next week's British Open. I don't imagine, given his struggles in links golf. So that's what's going on overseas on the PGA Tour. The Genesis Scottish Open is kind of a big event between the DP World Tour, formerly the European Tour, and the PGA Tour. They're going to team up for it. So it should be an interesting weekend of golf. We'll see if Tringali can keep it going in 9 under and create in winds and chilly conditions. Just a crazy number. So keep an eye on that. And of course, the British Open begins next week at St. Andrews, and Tiger Woods is scheduled to play. He's staying overseas after playing earlier this week the JP McManus Pro-Am. He talked to the media, said his intent was to actually play the U.S. Open, but he couldn't physically do it. He had problems with his leg. He couldn't physically do it, and playing in the U.S. Open would have jeopardized the British Open at St. Andrews. Obviously, St. Andrews means a lot to him. He's won 2 British Opens there. Obviously, it's one of the best courses, most famous courses in all the world. So he decided to withdraw from the U.S. Open, obviously, and save up for the British Open. He's playing overseas. Him and Rory today, or on Thursday, played Ballybunion. I've never heard of it, but I guess it's a famous course over in Ireland. So there's that. So they've been practicing. We'll see how he looks. Obviously, tee times for that haven't come out yet. That's not till Thursday, but we'll see how he looks. St. Andrews is a relatively flat course. He knows it pretty well. They haven't undergone a ton of changes that I'm aware of. So we'll see how he looks this week at the British Open, but he did say his intent was to play in the U.S. Open. He just couldn't physically do it. So there's that. So the thing with so first of all, if you haven't seen, as we talked about the British Open here for a second, if you haven't seen the Golf Channel documentary on the Open at St. Andrews, you definitely should. I watched it last night. I actually watched it almost twice, because I watched half of it before I went to dinner, and then I watched it from the beginning when it replayed at midnight on Wednesday. So if you haven't seen it, you definitely should check it out. It's pretty well done. They go through all the different Opens and the different players, and some kind of never before seen footage of Bobby Jones and guys like that. At least I've never seen it before anyway. So I don't know if it's like officially never before seen footage, but I certainly have never seen it. So definitely check that out. So when it comes to the British Open, I'm not a huge British Open fan. One, it's on extremely early in the morning, much earlier than I desire to get up. But that's part of it. But the other part is, it just seems, I always thought it was kind of fluky. Like the courses are kind of like fluky. None of them look all that exciting. Obviously, it's all burnt out, and that's just the way they play over there. It's just it's what it is. So I've never been a huge British Open fan. I enjoy obviously the Masters and the U.S. Open and even the PGA more than the British Open. But obviously it's a big deal to these guys. And I do get excited for when it's at St. Andrews. These other courses, Royal Liverpool and Turnberry and things, and they're all legendary courses in their own right. But obviously St. Andrews is you know, the most legendary course of all of them. So I do get excited. I am excited for the Open to be at St. Andrews. I'm looking forward to trying to watch as much coverage of that as possible. And so I do have some excitement there. As far as who's going to win, it's hard to say. You know, these guys this week playing the Scottish Open, I don't know how much credit you give that, how much stock you put into that. The guys that have won there before, Louis Oosthuizen, he looks like he's kind of done. He hasn't looked good in a while. Zach Johnson, he's kind of done. You know, Jordan Spieth would be a pick, but let me see, he lost in a playoff there. Excuse me, he missed out on the playoff there by a shot back in 2015, I believe. But he hasn't shown much either. So none of these normal favorites really haven't obviously shown much. Obviously, you like to see Tiger play well, Phil play well. It would be interesting to see if Tiger and Phil get paired together. I'm not sure how they do the pairings over there. The U.S. Open, they usually, you know, purposely put players together, kind of based on just, you know, victory, like past champions and different things. So could be something to watch for. And it'd be interesting to see how the live guys do as well. So it's a huge tournament. People are saying that's the biggest major, one of the biggest majors ever, just given everything that's going on in the game of golf right now. Plus, it's out of St. Andrews. It's the 150th anniversary of the British Open, and of course, it happens to fall at St. Andrews. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the 100th anniversary of the British Open was actually at St. Andrews as well. I could be wrong on that. I'm pretty certain. I believe they said it in the documentary last night. So definitely getting excited for that. Obviously, lots going on, and we'll have some coverage of that, of the British Open, obviously, as well. So we have the British Open next week. We have the RI Amateur. We have the New England Amateur the week after that at Alpine. So lots going on in both the local and the national golf world. And of course, like I said, pro golf continues to be kind of chaos. So lots going on. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, this is the Golf Dudes podcast, and hope everyone is having a great Thursday and looking forward to what should be another great golfing weekend. Obviously, you're coming off of the holidays, a short week. And also, thanks to everybody for congratulating me on my hole-in-one. Yes, I saw it go in, 2 bounces, went in. So it was a pretty cool feeling for sure. Hopefully I'll get some more. Like I told everybody, I'm only playing for hole-in-ones now. So we'll be skipping all par 5s, skipping most par 4s, and I'm just going to play the par 3s and try to get hole-in-one. So that's what we're doing. Obviously, I'm just joking. But it was very exciting. So thanks to everybody who congratulated me. I did put a hole-in-one report article up about myself, but I didn't social it because it just seemed too much. I already shared the pictures and did that whole thing. So there's an article up there if you, for some reason, want to read it. But I didn't share it because we already shared enough stuff, and it's gonna just be too much. So anyway, thanks everybody for the congratulations. First hole-in-one is pretty cool for sure. And then I played like crap the rest of the round, and we didn't win the tournament. We did finish 3rd. So there's that. So lots going on in the golf world. We'll have coverage of the Providence Open tomorrow at Triggs, and obviously we'll have our amateur coverage starting next week bright and early on Monday morning at One Autonomy. Because again, if you're going, great, bring a good camera because there's a lot of great pictures to be taken, and as you can see, the water on a lot of the holes, if not every hole, in some way, shape, or form, whether it's on behind the green or from the fairway or whatever it might be, a tee box. So definitely bring a camera and take some cool pictures. So there's that. So as far as the rest of the show, I think this is a wrap. I know there's a lot going on. We have the Yankees and Red Sox. We have the NHL draft, and we have replays of golf. So yeah, so I will talk to you all over the weekend, of course, with coverage, continuing coverage at GolfNewsRI. And like I said, stay tuned for a few more episodes of the RI Amateur Series. I don't know if we're going to get to 9 again this year, just because of the late start, and obviously everyone else has got tons of things going on as well. But we're definitely going to bang out a few more episodes this week, and then we will post them, and you can check them all out. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks for all the support, and looking forward to the next couple of weeks of local golf coverage. So this has been the Golf Dudes Podcast. Happy Thursday, and we will see you all next week. Probably will talk to you from the RA Amateur next week. So stay tuned for that, whether it's live or taped. I'm not 1,000% sure yet. A lot of it depends on the Wi-Fi situation and a few other factors. So probably will talk to you next week from the RA Amateur, one way or the other, and hope to see you all there. It should be a great tournament. Really looking forward to it, and looking forward to the rest of this weekend's tournaments and things as well. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.